So good morning from our Los Angeles based lab where we do lots of testing and so on. What you're looking at here is a load test that's running against an application called Pet Market. It's a cold fusion application that was created to demonstrate cold fusion. So we've got a load test running at the moment. This is 50 users, 50 virtual users with 8-second think time. And it's running against an uncached version of the application. What the point of today's demonstration is going to be is showing cache, which is a caching mechanism available to us in ColdFusion 9 and 901, running in a distributed, clustered setup. Basically, we have two hard drives on which we're running, external hard drives on which we're running Windows Server 2003 via VMware, and this test is uncached, so we're just running the application, running the test against the application with no caching. And what we're seeing is response times, depending on the request, between 500 milliseconds and 1.5 milliseconds, or half a second and 1.5 seconds. In the background, I apologise if I jolt the camera now and again, by the way. I'm working in a small space. So in the background here, we've got CFusion running, and CFusion is showing us the number of requests. It's a live, real time, I should say, server monitor, CFusion, and it's showing us the number of requests that have been run so far against the application. It's also showing us the number of queries. I'm going to try and zoom in on that a little bit. I don't know whether we can see that, but basically, I'll just bring the camera around here. Yeah, sorry, bring it up a little bit. So 782 requests have run and 189,770 queries, which is a ridiculous amount of queries for the amount of requests that have run. And we did that on purpose. We've got some query looping code in there, which is, which I often come across actually in my day-to-day performance tuning, queries that are looped over by other queries and get out of control. So that's basically what we have going on here. The other bit that I'm going to show you, this by the way is a Pisa load test tool. It's got 3 seconds to go. We use this a lot in load testing, and I really advise everybody, those who know me have heard me say this many times, I advise anybody and everybody to load test things before you put them into production, because if you do that and you get past things with no errors, then they're not going to error out basically in the long term unless you have a major infrastructure failure. So load test wherever you can, in every case. That tool is not very expensive, by the way, the Pisa load web server stress tool. So what we're looking at here is VMware with the two Windows 2003 server instances running. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to fire up cache, and this is important to watch. So, try that again. There we are. So we've got cache, as I mentioned, on each of these servers running in a distributed and clustered mode. Cache is starting up at the moment. That's what you can see. When this instance is up, it should come up as an active instance, and the other instance, which we're going to start in a minute, will come up as a passive. Okay, so as it says here, becoming state active coordinator, Derek at the server instance has started up as an active node. So that's what we wanted to see. I'm now going to start up the second instance of cache, which is on the other Windows 2003 server. Again, those two are running on external hard drives with VMware workstation basically. I think it's 7, for those who want to know, 7.1. I should run through what we've got then. So this laptop we're running a test on is running Windows 7 64-bit. It's got ColdFusion 901 Enterprise in a multi-instance install. Web Server Stress Tool we mentioned already, and cache, I think this is version 2.2, running on these two external hard drives using TCP/IP, basically an Ethernet network, or certainly Ethernet topology. So there we are. The second instance came up and it says, quite as we expected, passive initialized. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to the load test tool, and I'm going to bring in the script that's for the cache browse. for those of you that managed to get to CF Objective in Melbourne, you will have seen this, because I actually ran it there. It took a little bit longer in terms of, it took me longer, you know, I spent more time talking about it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do what's called a smoke test. What this is it's going to kick off the load test with a very low number of users, 5 users, and only for 2 minutes. And the objective of this is to basically initialize the EH cache. What we found is that on the first request from ColdFusion to EH cache, it can take as much as 30 seconds to you know, initialize the cache and get a response. At the moment, as we can see, there's 5 users who actually clicked, and they're sitting there waiting for a response. As yet, there's been no response, so the caching mechanism is instantiating at the moment. Hopefully shortly we'll start to see the first responses, and you know, and that'll show us that the cache, yeah, here we go, I think that'll show us that the cache is now instantiated. Yeah, so it took 29 seconds basically to instantiate the cache, and now it's instantiated. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to stop this smoke test, and I'm going to start the actual load test with the number of users that we want to run. So here we are. So I'm going to run it for 3 minutes with 50 users, okay, 50 virtual users. That's the same number of virtual users that we're running against a non-cache version. This is the same application. So one more thing I want to check at the moment, so just making sure the test kicked off okay. Alright, so that's running fine. So I'm looking back here at CFusion. What we see here, this is, and again, these numbers are important. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on them. So what we're seeing here is the total number of requests, which is this number here, sitting at 980 at the moment. Just went to 994, and the total number of queries, which is at 220,000. What we're going to see here is, because we're using EH cache, and EH cache is caching the queries, we're going to see that that number is not going to increase much, because we're now running cache queries, which is, you know, and the response times that we're getting, incidentally, let me just bring back the Pisa load test tool. Now we're in the milliseconds as far as response times go. 31 milliseconds, 500 milliseconds, 56 milliseconds, 97 milliseconds. Okay, so the next step is, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually stop the EH cache instance that's active. So this is the active instance. It says becoming active coordinator, which is before. So I'm now going to stop that. So now what we should see, if I switch over to the other version of EH cache, at this point the requests, as you can see, are stacking up. That's what all those green, I don't know whether you can actually see them here. If we go, yeah, there's lots of requests stacking up anyway. That's just cleared because now the cache has kicked in. And what we can see here, there's only, what we did, we failed over the first cache, the one that was active, by turning it off, and the second one became active. I don't know if you can read this very well, but it says passive initialize, and active has now become the active coordinator. So what we've demonstrated here is a load test against, via ColdFusion or an IS7 against a cache version of an application and a non-cache version. When we demonstrated the cache version, what we did is we actually failed over the caching mechanism as the test was running, and we were able to see that EH cache did what it should do, which is to bring up the passive member, make it active. And you know, it's a bit, this mechanism, we're very excited about it because it really is a powerful mechanism to be able to have these distributed clustered caches. And this is without the purchase of any commercial products other than ColdFusion. The EH cache and Terracotta parts are available for download. There are some commercial aspects to EH cache, and those are very exciting also. One thing I would say is I want to thank the people at EH cache very much for all their cooperation in getting this to work, and we will be doing more. We've got another very exciting thing coming up, so hopefully, and there's a load test shutting down, hopefully we'll have that to demonstrate soon. And I hope you found this video useful, and hopefully we'll see you again. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.